Yeah, so getting into IIT was obviously a highlight at the time. IIT had a tremendous reputation. Now, I don't know whether you know this, but I grew up in Sri Lanka. So so IIT was just getting to be known in Sri Lanka, and I had gotten into the University of Sri Lanka for engineering. But when I heard about IIT, I came and did the JEE exam, and was fortunate enough to get in. So that's what got me into IIT, and it was one of those things as you look back in life where you don't think about it at the time, but that was certainly one of the best decisions of my life, because not only the outstanding education that I got at IIT, world class, outstanding. Although I didn't know it at the time, because you go there but you don't have the perspective to be able to make the comparison with other world-class institutions until you go out there and start working and interacting with people from all over the world, and you realize, hey, I'm just as good. I can compete with all these people. The other thing about IIT that was to me from a life-changing perspective has been so very helpful and useful and fulfilling are the friends and relationships that I made at IIT. Even today, almost 50 years, not almost, but 50 years after I joined IIT, some of the friends I made from day one are still some of my closest friends and confidants. And even during COVID, we got together very often via Zoom and had calls and meetings and discussions and WhatsApp groups and Signal groups and all of that. So that relationship continues, which is tremendous. So the whole experience was just a wonderful, life-changing experience for me, in beyond just the educational part of it and equipping me to be able to really leverage that education with my interests and be able to fulfill what I wanted to do in life. So overall, very, very positive experience. So I started in 71, and at the time it was 5 years. So I graduated in 1976. Yeah, so one of the things that I realized as I was, after about 2 years at IIT, 2 to 3 years, 2 years, that I thought the education was fantastic, like I said, really gave me some outstanding quantitative analytical skills. But what I felt is I really don't want to be an engineer. I want to use these skill sets to get into business and run businesses. So what I want to do is get into general management and get into the management side of things as opposed to the engineering side of things. So right after IIT, I came to the US for an MBA and went straight into an MBA program at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, and completed my MBA, and then started working initially as a financial analyst, and then went through different roles that took me towards fulfilling my ultimate ambition of running a business and running a corporation. So my first job was as a financial analyst, working for a company called Corning. And Corning is a very large global corporation. And if people are familiar with brand names like Pyrex and Corningware and things like that, it was a company that made that, but also they were into all kinds of other things. Today, they're the primary supplier of the screens, the glass for screens for iPhones, iPads, watches, all of those types of things. Big in fiber optics, communications, and the consumer side of the business, which at one point I ran those brands globally. Pyrex and Corningware and things like that. So it was so that was the first company that I worked for. So one of the things that again that I feel very strongly about when people get into business or get into any sort of profession is not just the particular job you have, but what's the long-term vision? And like I said, what I wanted to do was to get into a leadership position of running a business or ideally running a corporation. So I always had that goal in mind and kept thinking in terms of, so what do I need to do to fulfill that? And at every step when there were opportunities to change or to get into a new type of job, I was looking at, is my goal still the same? Has it changed or not? And it hadn't. And will any change take me towards that goal or not? So it isn't just about the money, or at least for me, it wasn't. It was about what do I want to achieve? And that's a combination, not only professionally, but also in life, in terms of the full picture. What do I want with my total life? So there's the professional side and the personal side in terms of family and the balance between how I spend my time in things I like to do, family and work, and how do you combine that? And so looking at it from that perspective, I always looked at how do I make myself a better candidate to achieve the things that I want to achieve without compromising the personal side of things. And so this took me from Corning, where I initially spent 18 years, but I had a number of different jobs. Again, taking me towards this goal. I started off in finance and then got into marketing and strategic planning and actually general management, running some businesses, then changed companies for about 10 years, went into another company. And then I have one child, my son, where once he got into college, I looked around and, with the second company, I stayed there for quite some time, probably longer than what was good for my career, but it worked for my son. And that's why I said, how do you balance this and make it optimize the whole situation? And because we decided that it'll be good for my son to finish his high school in the place where we were. So we stayed on there until he got out of high school and went to college. And then at that point, I looked around for an opportunity and got into A.O. Smith, which was a company where I went on to become CEO after some years there. But in between, again, going back to what's the plan and how do you equip yourself better and better all the time and keep learning and keep improving yourself. I went back to school again, this time to the Harvard Business School in terms of another business program, full-time. And that again was a very, just an outstanding experience, especially after being in the workplace for a number of years, to be able to interact with, again, the best of the best in the world in terms of business, all aspects of business and life. There were people from banking, academia, military, all leadership from all phases of life. And it was a program that really helped me pull everything together. And again, made me be a better leader.
Yeah.
So I think the, for me, what worked is that to have a plan, and then the learning never stops. It never stops. And that's worked for me. In fact, as you probably know, I have now retired from the day-to-day work. So I don't get up every day and go to work, but I'm still on 3 public company boards. I'm occasionally doing a little teaching where I'm invited to speak to MBA classes, but I attend seminars very often, and whenever there's an opportunity to learn something new, keeping in touch with what's going on, it's something I spend a lot of time